All right, welcome to episode 37 of the Operators Pod. We are talking Amazon fees, TikTok bans, Klaviyo's running services. Everything's going wrong in DTC this week. Meta sucks. All of it. It's just going to be such an episode of positivity. I can't wait for you all to listen to this one. Now, it's actually good. Stick around. This is a great listen. I think you'll take some stuff away from this that's actually valuable.
Let's go. What's up, guys? Let's talk about the D2C apocalypse. Klaviyo starting an agency, Meta bugs, TikTok being banned, new Amazon fees. Is anything going right? How are you guys feeling about D2C right now?
I hate Meta right now.
Are you struggling with it right now, Matt?
Dude, like it's so I can't remember the last time it was this bloody for it. I'm talking Pillowcase, which is like usually a Meta, like just a great D2C business. The last 2 weeks, my CPMs went up 400%. CPAs with them. Can't spend money. Been throwing a ton of shit at the wall. Creative variety's not. It's just like it's all the usual. Like, okay, work the problem. It's been so messy, and I just keep hearing it over and over and over again from my network that it's just messy.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to affect everybody in February. Like some people would be hurt on 1 week and some people would be hurt the other week. It seems like everyone kind of struggled between February and even early March. Dude, and then there was a massive outage. Like that's the other thing. It's like, a lot of it was just conspiracy theories. Like, oh, Meta's fucked up. Like these campaigns aren't spending. This spend makes no sense. But then we have the entire internet go down for 4 hours or whatever. So that seemed to confirm a lot of conspiracy theories. Jason, how are you feeling?
Well, look, I'm just checking on our numbers right now, and I'll get back to you. But no one at my place is complaining. But I will say that I have a really good friend who runs a brand that's like 10 million in revenue, and they have an absolute disaster on their hands with Meta right now. And it's not only one thing, actually. Like there were like issues specific to them with like Meta declining payment and not taking the backup payment, but then also the systemic issues that are out there are probably affecting them too. And the crazy part of it all is like shit is just going crazy and you have no idea why. There's no visibility into what's going on. I understand the frustration. And this one brand that I'm talking about who have a really nice product, I mean, they've been unable to spend for like a week. They're like literally just basically unable. And when they do turn it on and go to spend, it's absolutely atrocious.
I'm in that camp.
Right? Do you get that? Same with you, Matt?
Yep, I'm in that camp right now, dude. And I've never had that problem. Like I've been able to run some stuff, but like I was on with Facebook last week or this. I forget at this point. I'm just like, no, I'm just turning it all off, guys. Like there's literally no point to me putting money in your machine right now. None. And it's not even like a little bit bad. It's like my in platform is like my CPAs are like $1,200 on a $50 product. Like run that one through your brain and tell me how that works.
It's nuts. And you know what, Matt? You know who I really feel bad for is I feel bad for agencies right now.
Dude,
right?
They're going to get hammered by brands, right?
I mean, the brand that I'm talking about uses an agency that I know, and I'm sure this agency is going to get fired. And it's like, it's really not the agency's fault. Like, it's really not, guys. Sometimes things just can go to hell, and there's nothing, like you don't know why. And that's what happens when you're wholly dependent on this one channel, and that's why omni-channel
this is the thing I would say too. Like, I think if you're in the camp that you're not feeling this, there's going to be exceptions, like who people are not feeling platform issues right now. I would say like, because there's no major seasonality, there's no Mother's Day, there's no Valentine's Day, there's no Father's Day, there's nothing right now in March. I don't think that somebody is like capturing some weird seasonal demand. So we're pretty like run of the mill early spring market for consumer. if you're not feeling pain right now, I would be questioning how much Meta even was doing for you. Like if your sales are fine, then Meta's had no impact on your business over the last 2 weeks, genuinely question the value of the dollars you're putting in that channel, because it means it probably wasn't doing a thing in the first place if you haven't felt it. That like it's that I've heard it from that many companies at this point in my like we all know a lot of brands. Dude, it's everybody is bitching to some level.
Yeah. And sample size of 100 probably that I've talked to, 85% are bitching. And typically it's always 30 to 40% are bitching. So so it is like there's a baseline that like some people are always having problems, and most people are always like any large number of, or any large group of people, there'll be some people complaining about something, but it does seem to be like a very real problem across a lot of stuff. It's been hard for on the rigid side of the business. It's just been like international has been what's really been sucking, right? Like core EDC business, like CPAs are higher than I want them to be, obviously, but it's not like radical. It's not like what Jason's talking about, like I can't spend any money. But international has been actually like the worst we've seen it probably ever. And what sucks is if you're a $10 million brand and Meta like is literally broken, like payment card decline, or like you can't spend any money at all, and $1,200 CPAs, there's no one you can talk to, right? Like at least like, I'm in disruptors, Jason's in disruptors. We have like reps who are actively working to try to help us, right? Like pretty in depth. They only have 4 to 10 accounts or whatever. So yeah, it's a hard time. Jason, you brought up the point about agencies too. I think that's definitely interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I feel bad for them. I'm with Jason. Like, look, I really like our Facebook reps. Like we have good reps. It's a thing in Canada. The Canadian Meta team have like, I always joke, like they've got real functioning brains and they know what they're doing. And they're just like, well, we don't know.
I've met the head of Meta Canada. Jason, I think you've met him too. He's like an incredibly smart, respected guy inside of Meta. So
yeah, dude, I really like our Meta team. Like, I mean, just shout out to those guys. Like they're very, very good. And they always have like, they want to help. Like I will give them that. But like February, I went, and I mean, this is how I've been doing this long enough to know too, this will pass. Nobody panic, right? Like this is what happens. But from February 20th to 21st, it just fell off a cliff from like a Tuesday to a Wednesday. It wasn't like this, oh, it's just sliding because it's purchase seasonality. It's none of that shit. It was like, from February 20th, my CPMs were $12, and I woke up on the 21st and they were $55. And it's not changed. Like it's just gotten worse. And then there's outages, and I'm just like, you know what? Turn it all off. Let's focus on Google, because we know we're not one channel.
The only thing I want to tell you about agencies is it's been hard to be an agency for probably 4 years, right? Like it definitely has not been a golden era of agencies. Like you've had to diversify, you've had to look into getting into new lines of business, like launching creative or TikTok shops or whatever. But that's why I think we've seen like a reduction in the number of agencies. And if I was an agency, I would only want to hitch my horse to like proven 9-figure brands at this point. Like if I was Zach Stuck running his agency business, I wouldn't even be working with $2 million or $5 million clients. It's just they're too hard. The risk isn't there. So
yeah, it's difficult, man. I'm with you guys. I think it's a tough business to be in at this point from the service side. Cause I think the whole point is like brands go to agencies because they don't know what they're doing. So you're hiring an expert and then if it's out of their control, the experts get shit on, which is usually it's 9 times out of 10. I think it's probably wrongly placed.
Yeah.
If you're hiring quality.
Well, speaking of agencies, Klaviyo is launching one.
So, Jason, this is a public company. SaaS multiples. I think the most sophisticated question I can ask, what the fuck? How does this make sense?
Yeah, I need more information to like. I don't want to just I don't want to just speculate, but to me, it's like it's just showing the weakness of the business. And they, I mean, we've been calling this out for since we started this pod. Like they rode this wave, and I think they're trying to figure out whatever angle they can to keep the growth going. It's like Solo Stove bought Chubby's. Like, I don't know. It's just, we were just talking about that with someone at lunch today. I was having lunch with the banker, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know, but maybe Sean has I haven't really been following it that closely. I've just seen a bunch of tweets about it, but maybe Sean has a more nuanced and a reputable perspective on it.
Yeah, I saw the prices. There was an email that went out to all their agency partners with the prices, and I'll find those and we'll put them on screen right here. It just matches with, they want to go up market. Like, they have like 1,300 customers that give them $50,000 a year or something. Like, it's a very, very small number. They have 500,000 customers, and most of them give them pennies, right? So they want to try to radically expand their high-end customer base, right? And they think they need white glove service to win over those customers, right? Like,
I just don't understand the math, guys. Like, you're a SaaS company with SaaS revenue, SaaS multiples in a public market, adding linear dollars for time service revenue.
Well, there's one thing to say about that, Matt. Now that my brain is functioning again, I had a really big lunch. I'm sorry, and I had a couple of glasses of wine at lunch. That's the problem with working for HexLab. At a certain level, it's like if they can gain like an incremental, 5% of sales, and it's not enough to be broken out as a category, like they can get away with it, and it'll just be folded into their higher multiple SaaS business. It's like when it becomes 15+% of the business and people start looking at it, it's different. So that may be it.
Yeah. And I think their number one metric is just growing contract size. So they need to move up market. They want to get Walmart running their emails through Klaviyo, right? Like, that's, everyone wants to move up market. So they're directly competing against Salesforce, Oracle, HubSpot, like all these different companies. And what those companies do really well is have just intense headcounts, right? Like, dedicated to legacy SaaS contracts. So then they're just taking a page out of that. I mean, I definitely don't think they're going to go down market and compete with the Chase Diamonds of the world, right? And try to win over $5 million agency business. It's really, I think, just going to be a tool to try to, get those $5 million a year contracts, like huge contracts that they just can't get right now. They've been working on it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, look,
providing a managed service, in tech, a managed service, right? I think that's really what this is. It's not so much an agency; it's a managed service, and actually in the tech world, the tech language and tech valuations, managed services do merit a reasonable multiple. It's not an agency; it's a managed service.
We had this at NetSuite when I was there, and I know Salesforce. Like, I'm just looking up Salesforce's. I think Salesforce is probably a good comp for this. 6.01% of total Salesforce revenue came from professional services in 2021. That's like 1.3 billion for them. So they break it out. I don't know if it hurts them at all, but it is I think it's like fairly normal for like enterprise SaaS to have some kind of managed service, professional service option. They kind of do it for free, right? Like right now, if you think about it, how much service and support do these companies provide their customers, but they get no money. They like technically get no money from it.
Well, Klaviyo is famous for having horrible support. So
right.
They're spending $0 on it. Yeah. No, you guys are right. It's a managed service. Like, calling it an agency is just a fun thing we can do on the podcast. The only difference between them and the Salesforces of the NetSuites of the world, because I was going to bring up the NetSuite comparison as well. NetSuite loves to charge hourly tech rates, right? The difference is Klaviyo has a creative aspect to it. So you get into a managed SaaS service that needs to look pretty, and that's really hard. Like that is really hard to scale, right?
Dude, that was the issue with NetSuite and Salesforce too. Like Salesforce bought a friend of mine's company called Traction on Demand, which is like they were the biggest Salesforce implementer. So it's not creative work, but it's like a lot of like solutions engineers, software developers, like that kind of like every single deal is different type work, right? Where you're going in and actually having to figure out, like build something custom for each account. Klaviyo's like similar, except it's more creative and less like, I need to technically make it work.
Yeah, I just think in a technical world, there's yeses and nos, but in a creative world, there's ifs and buts, right? So
it's maybes.
Yeah, lots of maybes. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Operators Podcast. I want to talk about Fulfill, my ERP, and here's our journey with them, okay? We started just with warehouse management. We have 5 warehouses. So we have a customization warehouse. We have 3 nodes in the US, and we had Canada at the time. Maybe we had some international ones, but as you can see, I have way too many warehouses, and we had employees managing order flow. Wasn't a good system, right? It would break. People would ship the wrong thing. Keeping inventory in stock on the website was a mess. So I'm like, okay, we need a WMS. We started with Fulfill because it was lightweight, easy to implement, cost effective. You know me, I'm Mr. Cost Savings. So from there, we moved into a wholesale 3PL. So we added another node that just does B2B orders, and that required getting EDI set up into Fulfill, right? If you don't know what EDI is, it's like the worst technology ever. And I used to have to set them up individually with 3PLs, but by setting up with Fulfill, they can route the orders with EDI all these different places. So I don't have to go to a random 3PL from the 90s and get them to adopt Nordstrom's EDI integration or whatever. So that saves us a ton of time, a ton of money. Then we added accounting. Okay. So moving past QuickBooks. People tell me that if you're doing more than 50 million a year, you shouldn't be on QuickBooks, but we were doing over 100 million a year on QuickBooks. But at a certain point, when you're manufacturing stuff and you're buying component parts, it's like, okay, we need to get on the big leagues. So now we have the accounting module for Fulfill. So I'm fully set up on Fulfill. I'm probably the most complex Fulfill customer you've ever talked to. I'm like Voltron putting together all the different Fulfill pieces. We keep investing in Fulfill because the team's great. We get an ROI on the product, and they haven't tried to charge me $8 million a year or whatever NetSuite tries to charge you. So they do the implementation for us. They work with our team. It's been working. It's been set up. And now I got the infinity stones of all the different modules, and we're a fully functioning ERP, ran lightweight on the internet. Thank you, Fulfill, for doing that for us. Thank you for sponsoring the Operators Podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Let's keep going. There's more D2C bad news. I think the Amazon fees are the most important and misunderstood thing to talk about. Do you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, did you unpack those numbers, Sean?
I mean, I didn't run an analysis to our business, but because this is the most important thing. Everyone's like, these fee changes aren't that bad. Like, I'm actually saving money. The fees aren't out yet. There's 4 waves of fees coming out. So let's talk about what the different fees are. So the first is a placement fee. Okay. So you pay money to ship things to Amazon. And the way it typically works is I ship 1 truck to 1 Amazon fulfillment center, and then they spread the inventory across the country. So you can still do that, but you're going to pay a fee for every unit for them to move it. If you want to get around that fee, you have to pre-split it and ship it to different fulfillment centers yourself. Okay. So taking the work out of Amazon's hands into the supplier hands. Not that big of a deal. Do you guys want to talk about that at all?
Not specifically. I'm more wanting to know, like, how should companies think about this? It's the collection of fees now. I feel like I don't know, like when I looked at everything, it's like, it feels like a thread the needle stack of fees.
Yeah. I mean, there's fees on top of fees on top of fees now. So like Molson, who's on Twitter, who is an insane person, did a whole analysis on it and explained that like, it doesn't make any sense for us to ship 4 trucks to 4 different Amazon fulfillment centers when they're way better at it and they're running trucks all the time, they can manage demand way better, right? And then here's the other thing is even if right now you're not being fucked over on fees, Amazon, it's now a new standard. They can just change it at any point and charge you whatever they want for it, right? We've already seen cases of people who cannot get around the placement fee, being like, no, you have to ship to one FC and we're going to charge you for it. So people are already being fucked over on this. But there's more fees. The most egregious one is they're going to start charging you a low inventory fee. So if you do not have enough inventory, they're going to charge you. And if you have too much inventory, they already charge you.
Thread the needle.
Yeah. You pay storage fees and there are overage fees. So now there's a new fee that if you do not have enough inventory there, they're going to charge you, which is hilarious. Do you guys have any opinions on that?
Well, look, Amazon has us over the barrel, right? Like when you think about it, we could put our product up on crateandbarrel.com or someone like that, or surlatab.com, and they're going to take 50%. They're going to take 45 to 55%, and therefore we don't do it. We do it with the wedding sites because that's a little bit different. It's kind of like a captive audience, and it's just really very different purchasing pattern. So Amazon is going to continue to push it as close as they can to what those traditional retailers are. Like they're going to keep doing it until there's a backlash. Why not? They have just like incredible market power to do it. We ran some numbers and it looks like net Amazon has taken another 1% of the sale to us. And that was like a really quick back of the envelope based on what just came down. So, I mean, look, it's real money, but at the end of the day, Amazon knows that they're still way cheaper than being in traditional retail, or one of these traditional retailers who are just stuck in that model of having to take 40 to 60% to get their 11% net margin at the end of the day after all their overhead.
Who does this hurt the most? Is this smaller, like cheaper items? I've heard that like if you're like a $15 or $10 item on Amazon, this is going to hurt.
That's my opinion. But Jason, it's 1% now. There's more fees coming. They're upping the return fee. They're upping any sort of disposal fee. So you're getting charged placement fees. You're getting charged underage fees. You're getting charged overage fees. There's an increase in storage fees, increase in every single fee, and then if they dispose of your inventory, they're charging you more for it. It wouldn't surprise me if this is a 5% net fee increase in 12 months. That is what I'm, I think I would put my low end estimate at probably the 1% Jason said, and my high end estimate at 5% additional top line takeage. And then Jason, your point was, well, Walmart charges 50%, right? That's true. I think this is their way to get more people on Amazon first party, right? So to solidify around first party. But I'd also argue that Amazon's already charging 50%. So it's probably you pay 20% from Amazon referral fees and fulfillment fees, right? And then you're paying for ad space as well, right? So like, what's the ad space? 10, 20% sometimes? I mean, we're getting very close to the 50% take rate anyway. Then Matt, to your question, who does this end up hurting? I think it will be impossible to be price competitive on Amazon for anything. Yeah, probably sub $30. Like that's kind of like my rough guess.
What is this a weird way of going after the direct ship from China companies on Amazon? Like, are they making it untenable for those guys without really targeting them specifically?
I just think Amazon doesn't really care about retail all that much. I think they're just like in pure fee extraction. Like they have the captive market. They have, half of all e-commerce or whatever. It's not quite half. Like I think if you do the math, like it's like 40% of all e-commerce or something. Like in the United States, it's a huge amount.
But what do you mean? I mean, back up though. What do you mean they don't care about retail that much? Like, so they're being dragged in front of the FTC right now or something for the, like, not FTC, whoever does antitrust. right? Like for monopolistic behaviors. Isn't that sort of the big question with Amazon? Is they've always claimed that the e-commerce business is this like low margin thing, and that they make all their money from advertising in AWS and whatever else. But does anybody believe for a second that marketplace isn't just a fucking cash cow?
Well, I think it. I mean, it definitely has allowed them to build the other lines of business. But what I mean by they don't care about the retail business, they don't care about growing GMV because they can't. Right?
They have too much of it. Yeah,
they've reached the GMV that they can reach, and so now it's fee extraction. And the actual antitrust case is around. It's really centered around buy box and punishing sellers for trying to offer lower prices other places, right? Like that is because the way antitrust works in America is that like consumers have to be hurt because of higher prices, so that they're showing that like Amazon was having some sort of anti-competitive behavior there,
which is true.
Yes.
Like anybody in this business can tell you that. You need a court system to tell you that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's very hard to play armchair lawyer here, but maybe what ends up happening is Amazon has these new fees and then they end up reducing the referral fee or changing the way the buy box works. So it's a net neutral for them, but it makes them give up some amount to the ITC. I mean, sorry, the international, the FTC. But we'll see, man. I mean, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, do you think that Amazon's market share, are they undisruptible at this point with their market share in commerce? Like what I wonder sometimes is, as a consumer, how bad does the experience need to be on Amazon before I stop using it for commerce?
Yeah, they have everything that you can possibly want to buy and it's delivered the next day. I mean, it is hard to argue that this is bad for consumers or will be disrupted. And you know, maybe they've priced out the lowest end consumers, and those consumers are going to Temu or TikTok shops or wherever else, the dollar store, Walmart.com. But for 60% of America, it's where most transactions are taking place. So I think it's undisruptible. I think they have the biggest and best moat.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't argue with it. I'm just curious. Well, where is the breaking point? Like nothing lasts forever, right? And I find I trust Amazon less and less as a shopper.
Yeah, that's what everyone talks about is, you know, Amazon's full of dog shit. And so maybe this is a way to get dog shit off the platform, is just keep charging more until you only have real brands, right? Or people who will compete. Maybe. I mean, Amazon has been the best partner out of all of the marketplaces at removing knockoffs and having it like, you know, legal action available. Dude, I don't know. It is so hard to say what's going to happen. But what I'll say is, if you're an e-com seller, it's been a pretty bad 4 years. Like maybe you had a good time, but like managing supply chain, managing, you know, iOS 14, and now we're looking at this year and like, okay, grow your DTC business. Well, Meta isn't working. So, I guess I'll build a TikTok shop. Well, TikTok might get banned. Okay. Oh, well, I'll sell on Amazon. Well, Amazon is trying to get as much money as humanly possible out of you. Like, dude, today Amazon announced it's not going to loan Amazon sellers money anymore because, like, you know, I don't even think they believe in Amazon sellers anymore. It's like, yeah, dude, some of you guys are going bust. So I don't know. Just, we've chosen a horrible profession. It's a difficult time.
There we go. That's the takeaway for today's pod. Just hang it up.
No, it's actually just reinforces what we're always saying, all three of us, is that it all starts with a good product. I mean, you have to have a good product to survive. It's just getting harder and harder without having a differentiated value proposition for your product, period.
I'll be really honest with you. The cost savings is probably the biggest driver for me. I think I'm going to save like over $100,000 a year switching. And there is nothing I would not do to save $100,000 on SaaS. Like whatever the darkest thing you're thinking, that's me trying to save money on SaaS. So that's a big driver. And look, I believe in the product. I've seen it. I've seen the demos. People are like, oh, is migration going to be a pain in the ass? Yes. That is why I did not migrate in Q4. It's never going to be painless to do one of these things, right? Like, I've been on Klaviyo for 10 years. It's gonna take some time and effort to put it in, but Jimmy is the type of guy who's committed to make it as seamless as possible. So I'm very, very excited to switch to Sendlane. They're a startup, man. I think their culture matches mine. I'm excited to be there. So Photoshop a Sendlane logo on my jersey because that's where I'm going, guys.
Love it. I think, and and Jason, you've been around, this is not a knock on your age, I promise. You've been around enough different like sectors. Is this current flavor of consumer, is this just like it's maturing now to a point where that statement becomes true? You actually have to start thinking about moat outside of just good product. It's like what really makes you different and unique, like what mix of things allows you to be very competitive in this marketplace. Like it's the beautiful thing about a free market capitalism, right? Is that it's supposed to allow for the best or the cheapest to rise.
All right. Like I'm going to answer this in a little bit of a roundabout way because he just struck a chord with me. Okay. Solo Stove, their ticker, you know what their ticker symbol is? It's DTC. Okay. Their ticker symbol is DTC. And there was a golden age of D2C where drop shippers and anyone else could put an ad on Facebook at a super low CPM and make money. And that has been arbitraged out effectively, right? Like there's no free lunch. Everything, eventually that all those things go away, and what's left is those with a pure competitive advantage. And the pure competitive advantage, the easiest or the most typical pure competitive advantage in a retail business is the product. And then after that, it's the brand, right? Like, I mean, Gucci makes nice products. Louis Vuitton makes nice products, but like, are you really buying Louis Vuitton because you think they make the best bag, or you're buying it because it's a Louis Vuitton bag? So it's like those two. And like it's even in our evolution at HexClad, the way I think about our marketing now is like we used to market based on the value props of the product. We used to market based on performance. And like we've been doing that for the entire time, the 4 years or so that I've been helping run the business. And now it's like, okay, well, that's only going to go so far. And now we've been fortunate enough to build the brand. I actually just got a Slack that we were like our numbers in Google searches on the cookware category are just like massive. And not only are they massive, but like they've grown massively year over year. And that's that brand flywheel, but it fundamentally starts with a good product. So there was this D2C bubble. It's now gone. I don't see it coming back. I mean, Amazon is interesting. I wonder, Walmart has been trying really hard to be an alternative to Amazon. We know they pitched us really, really hard. Frankly, it has not worked very well for us at all. Not surprisingly, by the way, we weren't super bullish on it, but like we were convinced to test it. So I do think there's there certainly is room or a need for a real Amazon competitor. That unfortunately, like they've just created this incredible, almost natural monopoly power that puts them in that space. So anyway, I just kind of rambled on there a little bit. Those are a few things that came out of my.
No, I mean those are great points. Like with everything that's changing that we're talking about, we still even haven't hit on the whole TikTok. We're back to talking about TikTok getting banned. I feel like Groundhog Day every year. But like TikTok, Temu, Shein, is this how the market is thinking about competing with an Amazon? Are regulators going to even allow this to happen? Right? Like, are we going to allow for what they perceive to be an invasion?
Can someone summarize the latest dish on the TikTok banning? Sean, you want to do that for us? Like, why is this a thing again right now? Why should we take it seriously?
Because there's a bipartisan bill in Congress to force the divesting of TikTok from ByteDance and make it be owned by a US entity. So the reason why it's brought back up is, I mean, it's a real bill that has been submitted and it has bipartisan support. And going into an election year, I think it doesn't even matter about, like, there's been several instances of TikTok lying about accessing US data. Like, it's been proven in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal that, like, yeah, they've totally lied about it and they have accessed US data. So even if you remove that, like, let's just say that, like, this dog doesn't have any teeth. I just don't think either party wants another Cambridge Analytica moment, right? Trump wins in 2016. Immediately, Facebook becomes public enemy number one, right? And they're like, Russian misinformation was spread via ad dollar targeting. And we all worked in Facebook ads in 2016. Like, we all knew you could target whoever the fuck you wanted based on page or interest or whatever else. Like, we just didn't think it was a big deal. That ended up being a talking point for 4 years, and going into another election with two very, very unpopular candidates, I think it is like, hey, let's just remove this variable from the table. We don't want either side blaming each other over this thing. And I think you just get, so I think it's very likely that this happens. I put the odds at like 70% that it'll happen this year. And if it doesn't, whoever loses the election will blame TikTok 100%. So I think it's just, let's just get the variable off the table. But
so Jason, the details are, it's the House Energy and Commerce Committee, so it's not a joke. It was unanimously passed through, and it would give ByteDance 165 days to divest itself of TikTok in the US. Like, that's what they're putting in front. And if it passes, then it passes, right? Then that's like,
there's got to be plenty of creative people on Wall Street who will see a way to fix this and make a lot of money doing so.
So do you guys know what 165 days is? Is August 19th, 2024. Okay. And that's basically the start of the political system, right? Like, spending really kicks off in September. So I think why they choose 165 days? You know what I mean? Like, it's very much, they don't want this as a variable with the election.
It's a very specific number. What's 5 months from now?
Yeah. Look, and yeah, everyone, ByteDance is, there's leaked reports that I think last quarter they did like $40 billion in revenue. Like, it's no joke of a company. It's like, it's a huge company. They have a bunch of great properties. Like, they do a ton of money. TikTok is, one of their crown jewels, but it's not their biggest part of their business. I mean, they have a huge gaming division. Like, they're a serious company. Microsoft would love to own this. Amazon would love to own this. People joked that Elon Musk would buy it. I don't think he's got the funds right now, but a lot, like, it'll. I put very high odds that something like this happens.
That it's TikTok sticks around for American users, but is owned to, what you and Jason are saying is that there will be some creative way to have it owned by an American entity that would keep the politicians satiated.
Correct.
Okay. Because I guess run through the, like, if it's 70%, 80%, like there's a nobody knows the odds, but like there's a non-zero chance that TikTok does get banned, right? It's removed from app stores. They can't make it happen, whatever. So there's a non-zero chance that this doesn't get solved and that TikTok is no longer available for download or use on all app stores in America. Who benefits from this? So who is, like, on the other side saying, we love the sound of that. Like, let's make sure this absolutely gets banned. The obvious one's Meta.
Yeah, Google needs a huge win. So Google launched Shorts. They've had a really, really bad year. And
dude, who's allowed to buy this company? Has anybody stopped to ask that? Like, there's no transactions happening in tech right now.
Microsoft and Apple.
You think Microsoft would, like, from like regulators would allow Microsoft to own yet another major asset?
Microsoft has the best political will out of any of the big ones. I don't know how they get it done, but they just bought Blizzard. I mean, they can buy anything they want, it seems. So Microsoft, Salesforce, Oracle, Walmart, you know, any of those companies.
I mean, I can see Microsoft, and they have the market cap for it.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't even be that big of a pickup for Microsoft. I mean, this is a distressed deal. It's a deal that has to get done. So it's like, you know, it's that or face a permanent shutoff. So you're kind of being like, okay, what is this? 10 billion, 20 billion, 30 billion? Like,
can Apple buy it?
Yeah, I think Apple's another one. Like these are companies that are not public enemy number one that can actually get deals done, right?
Does this change how you guys view investing in the platform as operators?
Well, dude, I've stopped investing in TikTok because they've just made it fucking only TikTok shops. Like that's the only thing they care about. They're just spending all their time and effort trying to grow TikTok shops, and like we do a couple $1,000s a week off of TikTok shops. It's nothing crazy. I'm sure it's a great opportunity for somebody, but low quality buyers. I mean, we know Paul's crushing it on TikTok shops.
Dude, there's a few people we know killing it.
Yeah, I have a friend.
So
go ahead.
I have a different opinion on TikTok still than you guys. And I think it's just really product and category dependent. We had a whole chat about this a few weeks back, which I thought was really productive. And I came in saying, well, if TikTok is kind of talking about being view through and top of funnel, and Sean basically called bullshit on the whole thing, and like interesting perspective. I think we went out and we kind of looked at this from a post-purchase survey data perspective and not just an MTA perspective. And I don't have the MMM perspective yet, but I'll go back. I got to get that. But it was very interesting that TikTok and YouTube, which both fucking suck from an MTA perspective for us, look really good from our post-purchase survey data. So, Sean, riddle me that.
Yeah. I think attribution's really hard. And anytime anybody tells you that their ads work differently than some other form of ads, just you should throw up your bullshit alert. Imagine if I was like, hey, dude, I can make it rain, but only when I want to. And if it is raining, it's because of me. But if it's not raining, it will rain later, and that's also because of me. Like that is, it's like, okay, yeah, dude, I really trust that. So I'll have to look at the data about the post purchase. I mean, the other thing, I mean, post purchase is hard. Influencers always over index. But I just want to bring up one point. An obvious buyer for TikTok that we haven't talked about is a merger with Snapchat. Snapchat's $20 billion right now, down. Let's see what the all-time high is. Down, 75% from all-time
Sorry, who did you
highs.
say you cut out there for me? Who's the obvious buyer?
Snapchat.
Ooh.
So just throwing that out there. Is that another platform that'll tell you that they're a view-through conversion platform, right?
I guess like
similar.
So I'm Sean, I don't disagree with anything you said, but where Jason, I can see where you're coming from. And this is just my own usage of TikTok. About my only usage of TikTok, guys, is I love the food talk. I love the cooking side of TikTok for me is awesome. And it's just because I'm starting to get into cooking and I just like the content. And that's kind of where I go for that style of content. So like maybe there's an argument, Jason, that for your product in that category, there's so much great quality content on the platform that it could work. I could make that argument for like discovery and trust and all those things. Attribution, no, I can't argue that because like it looks like television or YouTube, like you're not going to be able to track. But I could totally see it, Jason. Like the content makes sense, man. It's all there.
Yeah. The other thing is you have a large influencer program, right? Like even just people naturally using Hexclad on TikTok. So you might be getting 2 to 3x the impressions versus paid, and paid might be taking the credit there. That's another way to think about it is I'm just watching cooking videos. People are tagging and using Hexclad anyway. They're cooking on Hexclad anyway. Your paid performance has nothing to do with that, but it would show up in a post purchase as still coming from TikTok.
Yeah.
So another
That's actually that's a really good point. I think you both make really good points. I think it's never one thing. I think it's probably a combination of both of those things, which goes to the fact that we're constantly reminding people who listen to the pod or watch the pod that like every brand is different. What works for us, what we say might be totally wrong for you. Right? And it's totally wrong in between amongst the three of us potentially.
No, I guess my question, guys, is more, and it's tough to know, right? Because everybody's different, but like we only have so much time. And Jason, you've always had this thing with any kind of new tactic or strategy. It's like, why now? Like, why should I even bother with this? And when I see a signal like this, that it's even a consideration that TikTok could go away, it definitely, as an operator, gives me pause on should I pour resources into this platform that is less guaranteed to be around in 12 months than, say, Meta or YouTube or TV or Pod.
Yeah. So when TikTok was a purely ad platform, we still spend on TikTok and we get just as good as results as Twitter or Snapchat or Meta. Like we run everything off the same metrics using Northbeam, right? We're looking for a 1-day ROAS, right? But the thing is that the spend just doesn't go as far. We can only spend 1,000 a day for every 5 or 10,000 we spend on Meta. So Meta, it has just better performative ad space for the same level of spend. Maybe there's better halo effects, whatever, Jason. We can argue about that. But what I will say is they've stopped being an ad platform first, right? Like they were a shopping platform first, and they're an ad platform third, fifth. It's like their ad space is getting deprioritized, and specifically commerce focused ad space is getting deprioritized. So it just isn't a very good platform for what we need to build right now. And that's why like a Walmart is a fantastic acquirer, because Walmart sells a ton of junk. So they would love an ad platform that sells junk.
What a soundbite. I liked your, Sean, I think one of my favorite takes from you on Twitter with this is that Twitter and Reddit and TikTok should be combined so that they're the infinity stones of brain rot.
Yeah.
Was what you called them.
Yeah, someone said Elon should buy it. And it's like, well, dude, Elon buys this, he buys Reddit, he's got Twitter. It's just like the dumbest people on the internet coming together.
All in one place.
If you're spending more than $1 million a year on paid ads, you probably have some amount of wasted spend. We all do. Marketing is the biggest line item on Ridge's P&L. So we spend more on marketing than we do on SaaS, people, or COGS. And 1% wasted spend can totally make or break a brand, right? And how do you determine if it's a channel messing up, or if it's an ad messing up, or if it's your team messing up? You need an independent source of truth there. So we recommend Northbeam multi-touch attribution. So what does that actually do? Facebook in platform wants you to spend more money on Facebook, right? They want to tell you that all of your sales are coming from Facebook. Google wants to say all of the sales are coming from Google, right? And you probably use Google Analytics, which is a last click attribution platform designed to make Google look better, right? So someone Googles your brand off of a Facebook ad, clicks a branded search term, who gets that sale? GA is going to say it's Google. Google Conversion Pixel is going to say it's Google. Facebook's going to say it's Facebook. How do you make sense out of that in this world? That's where Northbeam MTA comes in. A multi-touch attribution tool takes all of that data, all of their historical data, the billions in ad dollars that they've seen run through their pixel and their ad platform, and they determine the actual breakdown and who deserves the credit. So they got a team of data scientists from Stanford, Harvard, they got PhDs, and they've been working on this model for 6+ years. Pre-COVID, they were early movers in this space, and they know marketing attribution better than anybody else. Data is super flexible. They have more reports and metrics than any other platform out there, over 450 you can choose from. I look at 5 and I use it to determine if I'm wasting money on different ad platforms. Do you think it's time to get on TikTok? Well, the best way to know that is to be able to compare TikTok versus a Facebook versus anything else. That's what Northbeam can do. And don't just take my word for it. Everyone on the podcast uses it. I've been on Northbeam. I was the very first customer 6+ years ago. Jason uses it. Dr. Squatch uses it. BlendJet, Reef Sandals, all 9-figure brands who love and use Northbeam every single day. So what are you waiting for? Get a demo. Go to northbeam.io. Click the link in the description. Tell them the operator sent you, and we're here to help. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the support. If you're ready to check out and get to the next level of ad spend, check out Northbeam. Thank you. Let's tie it in a nice bow. You know, what we used to say would be like, oh, you know, like you should be diversified. You should be everywhere. Be on Shopify, be on Amazon, right? And like you should be spending some amount of money all these different places. And like if Meta's not working, because like Meta's broken now, like spend it on TikTok. Dude, a lot of paths look like dead ends right now, okay? It's like Meta's all fucked up. Amazon's charging fees. You know, Klaviyo is going to come try to fuck up your email. TikTok's going to get banned. And like we're staring down elections and tons of spending and Temu and Chinese sellers. And you're just being like, I just survived 4 years of bullshit to deal with this new gauntlet. And I get accused of being a doomer. Everyone should know that I'm actually a total bloomer. Like I think the world's awesome and my life's going great. And like, despite all the challenges, like we continue to thrive. So humble brag right there.
You are weirdly
like,
optimistic.
Yeah. You can see that it's like, oh, it's going to continue to be harder. It isn't like, you know, in 2018, Ridge.com, our Shopify website, did $18 million across the whole year. Okay. In December, we did more than $18 million on our Shopify website. Okay. So that was a 5-year period where we're doing entire years and months, right? And off one platform, doesn't include Amazon, doesn't include wholesale, doesn't include all this other stuff. So I've had an amazing 5-year run. I think I'm going to have another amazing 5-year run, but it is harder than it was back then. Undoubtedly, there's more challenges. It's more difficult.
I think there's always an argument to say that when you're starting out, you should focus on one thing, get great at one thing, and then at some point you have to magically know when to, I guess, diversify, right? And that's a risk and reward conversation. I think right now, Sean, you're hitting on a good point. It's like, it just looks like a buffet of shit sandwiches. I kind of just, to put it bluntly, like everything looks tasty. So I don't know if this is now the time where it's like, you know what, redouble down on pick one thing and just get great at it. If nothing is great, like maybe that's the answer for a lot of smaller brands, is they actually just need to refocus instead of going wider.
But yeah, what would you get good at? Right? Like I used to say TikTok shops. I'm like, yeah, it's the fastest growing. Like it has US users who are spending money. Like that's what I would get good at. But looks like it's not a good thing to get good at right now. So
you know what, man? Like we're only talking about the distribution side. I really think more of consumer needs to go back and focus on product. I really do. I think that the Jason referencing those years of D2C, like for Solo Stove and that was like, look, it's just a lot of blah product. It's a lot of mediocre product with like maybe better packaging than there is product. I still think we're in that time. Like they still think we need to get out of that. And I think that consumer works when you have a great product, and that the channel distribution, you have more distribution optionality when you have a great product.
Dude, undoubtedly. I mean, going back to Duncan on Solo Stove real quick. I've talked to a lot of people from Solo Stove, CFO, CEO, investment officers. I hired my chief merchandising officer out of Chubby's. Solo Stove is currently worth $200 million on the public market. They'll probably do $500 or $600 million in top line revenue. That is the challenge of being a low profit, low growth commerce brand on the public market right now. Like that is a take private target at some point, but probably lower. It probably has to be lower than it is right now. And that sucks.
Well, that's a never had any business being public conversation, just like a bunch of these other ones who we don't even need to name the names. Everybody knows them by now.
Yeah, but at one point they were worth $2 billion. And could you imagine how awesome you felt that week when you were the CEO of the multi-billion-dollar stove company, and how much it sucks now? It's like that wasn't that long ago. It was 18 months.
Yeah,
It's
for
like,
sure. It really sucks. But, like tulip bulbs were pretty valuable in the Netherlands at some point. I don't know if you've you know what you should do, Sean? Sean, you should take the CFA. You should study for the CFA. I could totally see you just geeking out and doing that. You know what the CFA is?
yeah, is that being a real financial advisor?
The chartered financial analyst, like all the Wall Street analysts and the hedge fund portfolio manager guys do it. Like, you should totally do it. I did it. And you could totally geek out on that. At least do level 1. It's really cool, actually. The others are really annoying. They're like all about fixed income and derivatives and portfolio management, but add that to your repertoire.
Yeah, man. Who knows what I'm going to do post Ridge? I might go get my JD like JP.
Oh God, please! Don't do that. Yeah, but by the way, thank you for the huge package of wallets addressed to the Pan Man. Everyone at Hexclad is just like over the moon about their Ridge wallets, and I'm trying to get Matt to sell me some of those phone cases. He did some Hexclad. He teased me with the Hexclad phone case, and then it just like disappeared. I don't know whether it was AI. Did Midjourney do that?
No, we're the team's going to set up a product for you, just for you though. I'm not going to it won't be public. And then you can, it's just phone models, right? Like that's the tricky thing with this damn category is like your whole team has a different phone. So
yeah. Dude, what if we did just like a little collab on our site?
Oh, dude, we can do that. No problem.
Just do it.
Super easy.
We just dropped a ton of really, really cool new merch. It's not on our site yet, but it's actually, we're going big in the merch right now. It looks really cool. Like chefy merch.
Love it. I can't believe you guys don't have a collab with Crocs, man. That's like the chef footwear.
Somebody reached out to Birkenstock a while ago, and they were just like, who the hell are you? They were like, who the hell is Hexclad? I'm like, you're going to find out. Don't worry.
Levels.
Exactly. Just when I thought I was a big shot. Nope.
Levels.
Sean, I had an idea for you. I think you need to be, how some of these guys, like they publish their whole portfolio online and you get to like watch how it does. I think you should do that. I think you should just put your entire portfolio out there, let everyone see it. I think that would be fun. Sean Frank's portfolio. Like
the Sean Index?
Yeah, I thought about doing that. Like now with my whole portfolio, we're just taking $100,000 and be like, okay, I'm just going to fresh trade $100,000 and see what happens. One, it's not financial advice. None of this is financial advice. So I don't want to do that when I have so many enemies out there in the world who might stick the SEC on me. And two, there's very few, I have like, I'm going to say a small chunk of money that I was looking to deploy. And I was just thinking about deals I wanted to make. I don't feel that compelled about anything in the market right now. I think, one thing I think is that Meta should be worth more than Google, but I'm already so exposed to Meta that like I don't feel like I should have more exposure there. I posted to you guys that I was thinking about shorting Tesla, but then I watched some really compelling evidence that Tesla self-driving is going to happen. And then the other one that I've actually made a lot of money on this recently is that I thought Coinbase was undervalued. So I bought back in January Coinbase call options that have just been crushing it. So anyway, that's the little market update. The market has been ripping, but yeah, Jason, maybe I'll pivot my whole thing to be a day trader if this wallet shit don't work out.
I mean, it seems like you spend a lot of time thinking about this stuff. I don't know who's running Ridge these days with you so focused on your investment portfolio.
Dude, well, his name's Andres. He's our COO. He's doing a great job.
I heard good things.
So hold on, Jason, you're short all things like all crypto, including Bitcoin, or are you just short like crypto but not?
I am just totally unexposed to anything crypto because there are zero fundamentals underneath it. It is purely speculation and a momentum play. And that's okay if that's like what you want. That's just not my investment philosophy. And having been an investment banker for many years where I was prohibited from investing in individual stocks, I've just like, that muscle is not exercised enough. And so I don't even bother with individual stocks. I buy the market. I'm very long personal real estate right now because I just feel like there's a double, like not only is my real estate going to become more valuable, but I'm also going to enjoy it while I'm using it. So I think it's good to be long personal real estate if you time it right. But yeah, I just don't invest in individual stocks, and I certainly don't do anything speculative. And I get reached out to by people saying like, oh, can you help me like fund this startup? And the only startup I'm funding is one that I run myself or with like good friends like you guys. So that's just my philosophy. And I'm 52. Sean's a kid. He can do whatever he wants.
That's actually, I got a friend of mine who's in his late 50s, and he said something similar. He's like, at his age, he's like, I'm taking a lot less risks now, and I'm far more about protection. And he's big in real estate, and he's like, I'd like to sit in my money now. It's like, I like it in a place where I can sit in a home, and that's where I've invested my cash. And I'm alive, and I get to enjoy that asset.
And it's not like I'm some W-2 employee, right? I have equity in business that I run. And so that's like, I'm exposed to equities in like the most stringent way. In some extent, I'm betting on myself, but still I'm so exposed to equities. I'm so exposed to the retail market, and then like investing in a bunch of tech that I think is like their outcomes are very highly determined by businesses like ours too. It just doesn't make sense for me. But I have a wealth manager, JP Morgan, and I just let them do their thing.
Yeah. A couple of points there. I actually probably have a very conservative portfolio, right? Like I own a ton of treasuries. That's probably my single largest holding is treasuries, right? But you bring up a good point that most people don't understand this, that like if you have private market exposure through equity in a private business, you should probably take a very conservative public market portfolio, right? And people are always like, well, I know what's happening with Meta because I spend money on Meta. I'm like, dude, you spend money on one industry in one market for Meta. You actually don't know what's happening at the macro level. Like we all knew Timo was spending a lot of money, but none of us would have guessed $4 billion, right? So you're already so risk exposed, right? Like, hey, what if DTC tanks? It's like, well, what if consumer spending tanks, right? So you're way better being diversified. And that's, in chat, I was trying to give somebody advice who has like hundreds of millions of dollars, who was trying to invest in e-com startups. I'm like, dude, don't do that. Like you've already hit the lotto. It's like if you're playing a slot machine and it pays out big, you don't immediately put all your money back on the slot machine. You leave the casino, right?
Yeah. Well, I think, do we want to wrap our Armageddon episode? I'm still optimistic. It's all going to be good.
Yeah, guys. Meta fucked up. TikTok shops getting banned, Amazon fees, Klaviyo agency, but smooth sailing. We will survive.
Life is great.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'll talk to everybody later.
Okay, that's a wrap. We are done with the Operators Pod. I know, big ball of sunshine today. Sunshine and rainbows is what I called this episode in our chat coming into it. It'll all get better. This too shall pass. Sean promises, and that is investment advice.
Based on the past 4 years, this will pass, and then another wave of bullshit will hit you. So
it's just all coming. All right, we're out.